Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Certainty Summit. It is great to be here today, to be joined by you guys in what's going to be an epic event. We have got a great set of speakers lined up for you guys today, and I'm sure you guys are going to take away a whole heap from today's presentation and really start to create some of that certainty that we're looking for in the current market. Now, we got a couple of people there we're still waiting on to roll on in, but what I'd love to hear from you guys, and I do have the chat open, I do always ask this question for any of you guys that have attended any of my summits that I've hosted before, is I love to hear who is joining me and where are you joining us from. So please jump into the comment section. If you're on YouTube, which you will be watching this on, nice and easy, jump across, hit the comment section, say hello, and let me know where you are joining us from today. I'm joining you today from my house because you might hear my throat is a little bit croaky, and unfortunately this week has been a little bit tough. This week, unfortunately, had to deal with COVID and meant that I could not be joining you today from the studio, from the office. So I'm here presenting to you guys today from my house. But the great thing is, we still wanted to make sure that you guys got the absolute pleasure of hearing from one of us from the studio. So Lawrence, who is one of our speakers, is over there in the studio, in my office, making sure that you guys still get a really good look at what we've got. Awesome, Steve. Thanks for joining us today from Perth. Well, that's an early start for you today, getting up. I appreciate you getting up early to join us on today's summit, and I'm sure you're going to take a lot away from today's presentation. I have no doubt about that. Like I mentioned before, we have got a great set of speakers lined up for you guys today. I'm so proud and so excited to be speaking alongside Bella and Lawrence. I know that you guys are going to take a lot away from what these two have to say. There is so much knowledge there in so many different aspects, and you're truly going to be in for an absolute treat today when listening to these two absolute legends. Now, like I mentioned before, it is a pretty action-packed event that we've got for you today in terms of the summit. But like always, I have to start off with a quote. For those of you that, again, have seen me present recently, I do really enjoy my quotes. So have a look at this one here. And this has to do with the whole concept of certainty. It's how we embrace the uncertainty of our lives that leads to greater transformations of our souls. I love that one. It's a great way to start today. Because the markets, the world, the elements that we've seen currently has created a lot of uncertainty. And well, I think there's someone else that probably has a little bit to do with that, creating that uncertainty, and that is also the media. And there's a couple of things that we're going to talk through to make sure that we can get rid of those myths and create a little bit of certainty around how you can invest in the current market, how you can shift your mindset in the current market to make sure that you guys are creating the certainty for your financial future. Fauzia, great to have you joining us from Tauranga. Always a pleasure to have you joining us, and really excited for what's in store for today. Now, the summit today is obviously brought to you by the team at Wealth Mentor, and I want to take this opportunity to have a massive shout out to the team at Wealth Mentor. The hard work that goes in from everybody in terms of getting these summits ready and available for you guys is truly exceptional. You should see how long it takes the team to make sure that everything is planned in place so that you guys get the best experience from the summit. So please, if you've got any feedback in terms of the summit, let us know. We love getting feedback and how we can continue to be able to produce the best possible summits and events for our beautiful people out there watching today. Right, let's have a little bit of a look at the things that we are going to be covering off today. Now, bear in mind that we are going to have quite a few of you joining us today on the summit. This is going to be covering off some broad concepts so that we can make sure that you guys can get some ideas and concepts. It's probably not going to be very specific to your situation because everybody's situation is slightly different, and that's something that you want to take away and work on your own situation. But I'm certainly going to give you things and tips and tricks that will help you to guide you to how you can best create the certainty and the process so your investing can be done to the best position possible. Now, one of the first things that we're going to talk about today is the impact of the CCCFA. I'm really excited to talk you through this. I'm actually going to talk you through exactly what it is, what we've seen, what's changed, and how the impact, I believe, has been on the market. I've also been on the phone this week to a couple of my people in the know, including someone very high up at ASB, to make sure that I can get some of that knowledge through to you guys in terms of what is being seen out in the market. So looking forward to sharing with you guys the impacts of the CCCFA. As well as that, I'm going to talk through my market ideas. What do I see in the market? I'm very fortunate as CEO of Wealth Mentor and also a mentor. I get to work alongside many investors, many mentors who are out there active in the market. So I get to hear from a lot of people things that are happening. And I love being able to share that knowledge on with people because I think that knowledge is very, very valuable. I'm also going to share with you what the crystal ball is saying. It's a bit of a play on words there, and I'll give you an idea as to what we're expecting to happen in the coming months based on what we've seen within the market. We've got a couple of great guests who are going to talk through similar elements as well and talk through their investing and what they've been up to. But as well as that, they can talk through overcoming the adversity and how you can shift your mindset to create the certainty through your property investing. And I can't wait for you guys to hear from Lawrence and Bella. Going to talk through a little bit of different strategies and depending on what the market's doing, different strategies that you may want to consider and how you can actually start to create that wealth for yourself. So we'll get into that for sure. As well as that, guys, I'm going to share with you, and I'll do this after you guys hear from Bella and from Lawrence. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 steps to how to make sure that you're making the best decision on your property purchase in the current market. And I'm looking forward to being able to share with you guys later on after you get to hear from my wonderful guests that I've got joining me today. So there is what you guys are going to be in for today. There is a whole lot of stuff that we will be covering off. It's going to be pretty action-packed summit, and we cannot wait to rip into it. One more quote before I share with you guys my team, because when you change your life, you change your thinking. There's no doubt about it, and these two are absolute legends of it. I mentioned it before. I'm so proud to be speaking alongside Bella and Lawrence, and I know that they will give you their absolute all. Because for both of them, there's one thing that they are very, very passionate about. Very passionate. And this will come across. So I want you guys to really pay attention and try and listen out for it. And that is their passion for helping people. They have got a real passion for helping people. Make sure you listen out for that, because I'm guaranteed you will definitely spot that. It's good. Got to have the caffeine. As I say, it's been a tough week, so we've got to fire up and get that caffeine in so we can make sure we give you guys 100% of that energy. Right. So a little bit about myself before we move into the event. So obviously my name is John O'Franco. I am lucky enough to be the CEO of Wealth Mentor, but for me, my main thing is all about my family man for sure. My family's struggling at the moment. They're over on the couch in the living room, all struggling with COVID as well. But for me, it's about being able to provide the best life for my family, and that's something that property has been able to give me in terms of being able to create that best life and the best intergenerational wealth for my family, which is something I think is certainly something that you really can't be sneezed at. A little bit of history. My first property investment that I did, the first flip, was actually on a reality TV show. If those of you that haven't seen Our First Home, please don't, because you will lose all respect for me, especially when I left that hammer behind the wall. People love giving me a bit of grief about that one. But like I mentioned before, I am the CEO of Wealth Mentor. And my journey to becoming the CEO of Wealth Mentor has been quite an interesting one. Just like you guys today, I actually attended an event wanting to learn more about property after doing the TV show. Found the team at Wealth Mentor, really enjoyed learning from them. Went on to take on a mentor, became a mentor for Wealth Mentor, and really just wanted to keep growing. I loved what we did in terms of impacting so many people's lives. The impact that we make on people's lives is exceptional. And that's something that I really am quite passionate about myself. And that's when I decided that, Wealth Mentor was a company that I wanted to really take to a whole other level in terms of being able to help people and, really make a massive impact. One of the things you'll notice on all our taglines is making wealth accessible to all. For me, that's something that is massive. We have an opportunity to create wealth to everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. Obviously, experienced investor and mentor, seen many deals come across both my own desk and my desk in terms of my students. So great to have that knowledge, and I hopefully can share some real insight for you guys today that you can take away and really start to transform your investing career. One other little thing about me, I'm a massive sports fan. Absolutely love my sport. For me, getting on the golf course, getting a fly rod in my hand and catching some fish, or watching some rugby. I mean, the Warriors got a win last night. It's got to be a good weekend if they got a win at Golden Point. Absolutely epic. So definitely a big sports fan. I think that's something property can provide, is it can provide that opportunity to get out there and swing the golf club a little bit more if that's something that you're into. But a little bit about me, but that's definitely not what you guys are here for today. You're here to learn from the team at Wealth Mentor. Here is our offices. That's headquarters. Lawrence is going to be coming to you guys from headquarters today. We're in Parnell. You would have driven past, if you've ever driven past Parnell, you would have noticed the building there, top of Parnell Road. And that's where Lawrence will be joining you today in our studio. A little bit about Wealth Mentor. We've been very fortunate to have been able to educate thousands of people. And it's something that can't be taken lightly, is the impact that we've made on so many people's lives. I think what's ended up happening because of that is we've got some great fans of Wealth Mentor. I absolutely love the fact that we've got these fans. But there's one value that I really want to put across to you guys. And a value that at Wealth Mentor, we don't believe in providing education to sell your property. Absolutely against that. Because for us at Wealth Mentor, it's about creating education, about showing a pathway so that the student can make informed decisions and buy the best investment property for their future, not a situation where we're going to be looking to sell your property because that lines our pocket. I think that's completely wrong and completely against the values that we got. So Wealth Mentor, we are purely about the education. And I think that comes across there on our tagline. Actually, let's bring that slide up on full so you guys can see a few of the other articles that we got there, featured in Property Investor Magazine and the Herald and a few other places there. And again, there's that tagline, making the wealth accessible to all. Cool. Thank you, Nims. Right. I talk about wealth and this concept of wealth. And wealth is such an interesting word. And for those of you that have your keyboards ready, I'd love for you to share this one. If you don't want to share, that's cool. I know it might be a little bit personal. But the concept of wealth is so different to every single person that we speak to, every single person that we work with and change their financial outlook. They've got a different perspective or a different desire of that end goal as to what the wealth is. I mean, it could be that the wealth is all about some of these nice things that you can see up on this slide here in terms of the fancy cars and the holidays. But for a lot of people, it's not what wealth is. For them, wealth is about being able to have freedom of choice, freedom of deciding when they will do something, freedom of choice of what they do with their time. I think that's something that really resonates for me. And in terms of that, I'll share with you exactly what wealth is to me, because that for me is my family. It's something that I'm truly proud of, and I think it's also been a big part of the values that have been passed down from my parents. You can see Mike and Deirdre there. My parents sacrificed their life in South Africa to move over to New Zealand to create a better life for me and my sister. Something I will always be extremely grateful for because of the massive sacrifice that they made in terms of financially, their friends, their careers that they had worked so hard to create. My dad had the coolest job of all. My dad was literally a professional racing driver. So that's something that he gave up in terms of trying to create the better life for me and my sister. So something truly, truly special. There's my family once again, my beautiful wife, Karen, and my kids, Isla and Harley. Definitely a big part of it. And there you go. There's our studio that you can see there in the bottom, in the middle. I do absolutely love being able to educate. I love the opportunity to stand here on this summit and be able to share with you guys, even though, again, tough week, feeling a little bit down, but, I think this has been a real spark and something I've really looked forward to still being able to share with you guys this weekend. Awesome. All right. I think it's time to rip into it. And I know that's something that everybody wants to talk about is the old triple CFA. The old triple CFA. Credit, Contracts and Consumer Finance Act. Now, the interesting thing about the triple CFA is for most people, they actually didn't know about it until the end of last year, when we had some changes come into effect on the 1st of December. Now, what the changes entailed is the fact that it actually made lending a little bit trickier for people. I'm going to get into that a little bit sooner about some of the insight I've got from some of my insider people. But the triple CFA has actually been around since 2003. But the funny thing is, most of us are like, oh yeah, this new CCCFA that's come into effect 1st of December 2020. But really, the whole concept of it is to try and ensure that borrowers are kept safe. And I think that's a really important element. It's really there to design to try and ensure that, I guess, those loan sharks or those dodgy lenders are kept in check and are lending to people that can actually afford the lending. But when the changes came into effect the 1st of December, it created a little bit of a frenzy and a little bit of a media frenzy as well. And I think a lot of that was actually to do with potentially the banks being a little bit unsure initially at how to take the changes in terms of having to do a lot more checks on people, a lot more understanding. I mean, the media ran with the story, what was it, that a cup of coffee that someone ordered, or the fact that they went to Kmart and they got some lending denied. I don't see how that can be true, because there must be a little bit more to it if one trip to Kmart meant that they couldn't get some lending. But when the changes came into effect on the 1st of December, it actually slowed up the market. I think it could have been a number of factors. Yes, the lending did get a little bit trickier for some people, and some people were not able to get lending, but also it created the illusion for people that lending was not attainable. And in turn, what meant, or what the onflow was, is that for a lot of people, they went into the fact that, well, if lending is not attainable, I'm not even going to try. And the changes, here we go, that we saw in December 1st, did mean that there was a lot more admin work in terms of doing your applications. Again, I think meaning that a lot of people, kind of chopped down on their application time. But what actually happened is, I was talking to one of my mortgage brokers. As soon as those changes happened, December 1st, he actually went from doing about 8 hours work per application for a loan, just for a standalone through your mainstream lending, like your ANZ, your ASB, went from 8 hours to 18 hours worth of work. So immediately that there puts strain on mortgage brokers. Their timeline is literally double time per application. Then on top of that, what we're seeing as well is the average Joe doing their own applications are probably going, oh, this is a little bit too much hard work. So it came in strong effect in terms of making sure that people were, really definitely could afford their lending. But then there was some recent changes that we've seen that have just come into it, which has actually given some clarity around how much investigation the lenders actually have to do into the borrower, and in turn has actually meant that there is less that they have to do. Now, I mentioned that I would come back to some of the insight that I got from when I had a chat to one of my guys, is that they've actually found that there's a lot less people applying for loans, and in turn, the approval ratings are actually the same percentage as they always have been, but there's a lot less people applying. Now, as soon as I hear that, my first thought process is why? And I think it comes back down to the fact that the media has created this real uncertainty around the lending side, so people are not going out there and getting lending, which has a flow-on effect on the market. It's an interesting time, and I think it's a really, really exciting time. Because this week, what I've been doing is I'm making sure that all my accounts and everything is tidied up so I can get my financials done, so that I can get myself some lending. I've been speaking to agents, some of them not even me getting on the phone to them. I've had quite a few phone calls because, to be honest, I think everybody out there should be getting themselves ready to buy. Now is the time to buy, because there is one thing that is very, very common in the deals that we're seeing at the moment, and that is very equity rich deals. Very equity rich. I want you to write that down. Equity rich deals are really, really common right now. We're seeing a lot of properties that you can buy below value and have the ability to add value. Adding value is something that I really, really am a big believer on, and something that I think all of us should have a solid understanding of. So I've actually made sure that I've put some slides in here today to share with you guys some concepts about adding value. Team, can we go full on me, please? In terms of the shift now in what we've seen on the market, I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about a couple of the elements and what I feel is happening in the market. Now, disclaimer, I have not checked my crystal ball to come up with what is going to be happening. What I'm doing is I'm taking facts, I'm taking concepts and talking to different people within the market to establish an opinion based on the knowledge that I've been able to pull together. But this is some of the thoughts that I've seen. First of all, we've had the triple CFA come in, and I've explained a little bit about that. Slowed down the market in terms of lending wise. What that didn't actually address is the supply issue. So we've got lending becoming a little bit trickier for a little bit, but we've still got a situation where a lot of people are still needing houses. Our shortage is definitely well and truly not taken care of. We have a shortage prior to this little bit of a boom that we've had, and don't get me wrong, we have had a boom in terms of the building industry. We've had the highest number of consents going through, which is brilliant. But what is still happening is we've still got a shortage. I mean, before that happened, we had a shortage of around 40,000 houses. We have not managed to pull that back. So the triple CFA has caused a slowdown on the lending side, which meant that there was more properties available on the market. It created fear based on the fact that property was now not necessarily selling as fast, which in turn has created the fear around the values of property. I mean, the whole thing in the market, the media this week has been about the market's dropped. Well, when we actually look at it, what did the market actually drop? The market dropped 0.6%. And this is a massive, was it a crash? Was it portrayed through the media as a crash? You know, in terms of this, we've had a slight drop, but that there is only determined by the fact that the fear that is being driven through the lending, but also through the situation of changes in legislation. So let's jump on to another thing. I mean, I realize that I'm jumping around a bit, but all these things kind of come together. The other one is the change in legislation that we've seen recently, and that is the interest deductibility. A bit of clarification for those of you that understand what the interest deductibility is. Basically, the concept is that you are no longer able to claim the interest as an expense against your property, meaning that the income that you're taxed on is different to how much you're actually earning. I'll explain that again. The interest deductibility has meant that your tax bill is based on your income including the mortgage, because they haven't actually been able to deduct the interest as an expense. So you're actually paying more tax than you're actually earning in terms of the level. So you're earning, let's say, $30,000, but your tax liability would be $40,000 because you can't claim $10,000 of interest. Now, this is not a huge impact, but it has created fear. And if you're smart about your investing, if you're doing something like creating new code of compliance, which then gives you the ability to actually deduct the interest deductibility, there is opportunities. But again, this has had an impact on the market. Again, slowing. But then we've got something else on this side. So we've got triple CFA and the fact that we've had the interest deductibility on this side. But on this side, then we've got the fact that we've got a huge shortage of property, and we're seeing record inflation. So we're seeing the highest inflation that we've seen since the 80s. Pretty much when I was born, the last time we saw inflation around this level. So now we've got a situation where there's essentially two elements trying to pull the market down, or perceived down, but then we've got a shortage and inflation. So what has in turn meant is that the market hasn't really gone anywhere, but as soon as these two elements, the interest deductibility and the triple CFA, kind of get resolved, or a better understanding is resolved, is figured out there, then what we're going to start to see is a real influx in the value of properties once again. That is only logical in my view, because we've still got a shortage and we've still got massive inflation. So right now, what we've got an opportunity, and I've really noticed it in the recent times, is that a lot of the properties that are hitting the market have huge amounts of equity in them. So what I mean by that is you're buying the properties below value straight away, making money in the buy. making money. I mean, you buy a property and you buy it $50,000 under market value. That's $50,000 that you have essentially made in equity straight off the bat. That's like a year's salary for some people. It's crazy. Now, this is an opportunity to create wealth in the current market. Now, what is going to be on the flip side of all this as well is that we haven't actually seen inflation or demand hit rent prices yet. Again, I realize that I'm jumping all around, but it all is connected, all these elements. So we haven't actually seen the fact that we've got a huge shortage of property and we've got massive inflation hasn't actually attached to the rental market. So in terms of actually seeing what rents will do, I strongly believe, and I know that many people in my circles believe this as well, that we're probably going to see rents rise fairly substantially in the next few years. Again, driving yields up and driving income for investors. Now, what I think is the best element for you guys to do now is look at where is your capital best placed. If you've got your money sitting in the bank, then the interest compared to the inflation, your money is literally going backwards. Your money is losing value every single day. If your money is based in assets, then your money is safe, secured by bricks and mortar with the ability to grow in value based on supply and demand, based on inflation as well as that you now have the ability to take that increase in value and buy more assets. I mean, the fact is that you can take a $200,000, $100,000 deposit, use that deposit to then buy a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 home or investment that then is growing at the inflation rate rather than having that $100,000 in the bank earning you 2% and then dropping back based on inflation. Again, I know that I'm giving you guys a whole lot here, but I'm trying to share as much as I can so that it gives you a really broad understanding. For those of you that want to know more as to how this impacts you, on a personal front, I'd be happy to discuss these further at some of our other events, and would love to be able to jump in a one-on-one and be able to have a look at how this impacts you in your own sense, because everybody does have a different element of how their investing looks. Now, there's something else I want to come back to in terms of the lending. Why are we still so obsessed? Is obsessed the right word? I'm not sure. Concerned? No, maybe not. We're so fixated. There we go. That's, I think, a word that I can use on this situation. Fixated with going through our lending with our mainstream banks. Now, if you can, and you can get lending through mainstream banks, brilliant, if that's the position that you're in. But that's just because a ASB and ANZ or a Westpac says no to you does not mean that you can't get lending. Be willing to look at other options, because if you're looking at how much the lending is costing you rather than how much the investment could be making you, you're looking at things the wrong way. If you are getting lending and it's costing you 5, 6, 7, 8% potentially, and you're still making money on the investment, why wouldn't you do it? I've done in the past where I've got lending at 11%, 12%, and still been able to make the deal work. So it made sense for that particular deal. So be open to looking at other avenues. I think there's a saying that I absolutely love. Don't look at the price of the shovel when you're digging for gold. Definitely something that relates to the situation, because have a look at what is the best situation. Again, this is very broad, and your specific situation will determine what lending is best way to go for your certain investments that you are looking at. But coming back to it, I truly believe the way that we want to be investing right now is really looking at making sure that we still have the ability to create cash flow, making sure that we still have the ability to get huge equity uplift, whether it's making money in the buy or through the added value that we can create through the property, is going to create a great situation as we come out of this little bit of a slump that we're in through the times that we've had. We've seen asset prices go through the roof. Basically, I think when a whole lot of money is printed, values will increase quite substantially. So we've seen asset prices increase quite substantially, and a little bit of a 0.6% is not really going to affect things too much as we come out of it and we move forward. The world, New Zealand's busy opening up. Our borders are open up. We're going to start to see a whole lot more people starting to come through. I think we're in for a really great time as we come out of uncertainty. Uncertainty does create exceptional opportunities for creating wealth. Whew, that was a big brain dump. I hope that that's given you guys some clarity. If it may have given you some a little bit of confusion on that, but what I really wanted to do, guys, I wanted to give you as many elements of it as possible so that you can paint your own picture for your own situation. Again, I'll share with you guys some ideas later on as to how we can jump into a one-on-one and be able to talk through any of these elements that do certainly fit back with you. Slide, please, team. Here's the outlook for me in terms of the property market. As the sun rises tomorrow, people will still need a roof over their head. That's right. At the end of the day, investing in property is still the safest place to invest your money. You have the power of leverage, you have the power of bricks and mortar, and at the end of the day, it is a commodity and an asset that everybody requires. And if you're able to buy property that has land, the great thing is we can't make more land. The land becomes more and more valuable as the houses and the density becomes higher and higher. I hope those comments and those market conditions have given you guys some ideas. And I'm going to share with you guys some more elements later on when we get to hear from me after these amazing speakers that we do have joining us today as well. But I did mention that I think it's very important when you're investing currently to look at how you can add value. And I want to give you a little bit of an idea as to what that looks in terms of the concept of adding value. So I talked about the concept of we need to buy below value. Understanding market value is one of the key elements as an investor. Understanding the value of a property so that you can ensure that you're giving yourself the ability to buy below value. If you can buy below value, which is certainly an opportunity in this current time, and add perceived value, we are creating an equity gain. We're creating an equity gain. We can create huge amounts of equity gain in the current market, which gives us the ability to do one of two things. We revalue the property at its new value based on the increase in value, and we refinance it, essentially taking the equity that we created and go out there and purchase another property. Or option number two, and something that I'm going to be doing a wee bit of in the current market as well, is that we buy these properties, we create them into a desirable element that fits within the current market that there is demand on, and we sell it on for a profit. These are great opportunities for us in the current market to be looking to make this equity gain or capital gain through what we've seen is a slight dip, or not even a dip, a slight stall in the current market. Thanks, Steve. I'm pleased that you enjoyed that element. So I talked about the idea of adding value. Let's have a look at how we can actually add value. I've got 10 ways that we can add value to a property. And I want you guys to make sure that you grab this one, write it down, because you want to go into every single investment transaction that you've got with how can I utilize one of these elements of adding value to increase the equity, increase the value of my property. Number one, nice and simple, cosmetic renovations. We're talking about jumping in there and changing some paint, flooring, and potentially maybe vanity bench tops. Cosmetic renovations, we're not talking about knocking down walls or creating walls. That there comes under structural renovations. Structural renovations, brilliant. Look to add a bedroom. Tip of the day, how big is the laundry? Is it even a space that you can potentially turn into a study or a bedroom? Look at the elements of the layout and how you can increase the value of the property. Getting extensions on the property. So we're talking about extending out and changing the layout of the property in terms of an extra bedroom on the side, or potentially an extra couple of bedrooms, if that's something that you can do on the land or on the property, for sure. Conversions. Garages are a great option if they are built correctly, and this is something you work through in terms of adding a sleep out. I mean, a sleep out or a little dwelling that somebody can occupy could probably, in most regional areas, bring you an extra $100 per week in rent. an extra $100 per week in rent from adding a sleep out. This could even be looking at a little bit of a cabin on the property. Did you know that you can add these without needing consent? There's just a couple of rules in terms of height to boundary, and that's something that you can look at in terms of adding little cabins. Again, that can add up to this $100 a week in rent in some of the regional areas, depending on where you are investing. Changing of the title. This could be that you purchase a property that is currently a cross lease and you have the ability to shift it to a freehold. Or one of the ones that's huge equity uplift, but not very common, but definitely something to consider if you can pull it off, is changing a leasehold into a freehold. You want to know more about that, you need to make sure you join us on one of our property masterclasses, and where we can share with you how that can be done. Again, a great way of adding value. Adding dwellings. Oh, brilliant. Did you know that as soon as you add a dwelling and you've got a new code of compliance for that property, the interest that you've got associated to that element is deductible? Straight away, as soon as you've got that, you're going to be more tax efficient and in turn going to make more money for yourself at the end of the financial year. So adding dwellings is great. We talk about maybe cabins, like I talked about before, potentially sleep outs, potentially even granny flats, or minor dwellings. I know that we got Steve from Perth, so I thought I'd better say granny flat, but it could be the minor dwellings. Again, this can be huge tax benefit. Subdivisions. You don't even have to go through the whole subdivision to get it. It could even just be what is option number 8, adding consent to a property, having consent to do. So we're talking about a resource consent that you now have the ability to potentially subdivide this property. All these ways are elements that we can use to increase the value of the property. Change the usage of the property. We're talking from potentially commercial to residential. Change the usage. Again, this is creating a new code of compliance, which again is great for the interest deductibility. Always think about these elements. And lastly, can we have the ability to bring the property up to market rent? So often we see properties under rented, and that will affect the value of the property if it is under rented. Make sure that the properties are at market rent. If you can use any of these elements, and when you do it, you ensure that you're creating a new code of compliance for your property, that is going to give you the ability to really be more tax efficient. Even if you're looking at a subdivision, by moving a property slightly and getting new code of compliance for it, it now becomes interest deductibility. You can then move more of the debts across to that property to be able to ensure that you are getting the tax efficiency that you need within your investing. Property at the moment is a great space to be in. I think that it is exciting times. The uncertainty for me is an opportunity. And I think for you guys as well, get yourself educated now on the sides of property so that you can take advantage of a situation where uncertainty creates opportunity. I've got one more slide for you guys before I send you through back to the studio at Wealth Mentor. And I think this is a tip that I've shared on every single one of my last events because I really think it is absolutely essential. When you go into any property transaction, do not buy the property based on its potentially what it could do in the market. You can buy based on potential as to what you can do in terms of changes, renovations, subdivisions. That's cool. And that's something you should be looking at. But don't buy based on the fact that it should grow by 10% and in this many years it should be worth this. That's rubbish. You should be looking at what the property is doing right now. If you can buy the property as though it will never increase in value and it still makes sense and still lines of pocket and still creates a capital uplift and cash flow uplift for you, then that's the type of property that you need to be looking into. So there's my last tip for you guys. You want to always look to buy property as though it'll never increase in value. All right. It's time for me to shift over to the studio. I'm really excited for you guys to be getting to meet Lawrence today. A true energy, a true absolute passion for helping people. I know that you guys are going to love the energy that he brings. You're going to love his story. A couple of things about Lawrence. He loves social media. He's one of those guys that does the whole videos, you know, where he dances and points at things. He's addicted to it in terms of property and social media. It's like his absolute, he froths at that element. He's got a real element for really wanting to help people. You can see that through his brand, that he's got his it truly just has this absolute passion to change people's lives. But at heart, he's just a big kid. And I know that he's probably got more toys than most of my kids and most of your kids all put together. But he's an absolute legend, and you guys are going to absolutely love hearing from the man himself. Lawrence, I'm going to hand over to you. Take it away, my friend. And I hope my studio is looking great.
Hey, Jono, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction on that one. Yeah, I think I might have more toys than everyone's kids combined. So I've got a passion for collecting toys. I won't shy away from that. A true kid at heart. And thanks for that, Jono, an introduction. And yes, I love social media. I love being silly. I love doing the things, but I fundamentally love helping people out there. And to anyone that's watching live at the moment, please drop a comment. So we've got in the studio, I can see all the comments on the side, so I know if any questions are coming through. And even if you're still there, just so I know that you're there, how was Jono's section? Did you enjoy that? Did you take something from that? Did you learn from that? Also, if you're watching on the replay, if you come back here a couple of days later or a few weeks later, still drop something in the comment if there's questions. We always come back afterwards to come back and make sure we clarify anything if there's further questions around that. But today I wanted to talk about, and before I get into my section, just show you a little bit about myself. But obviously, certainty, uncertainty, what it is, how it works, how it affects individuals, how it affects our lives is so different from one person to the next. But I'm hoping the next 35 to 40 minutes, my story can help you understand of what's important in life, what's important, what you want to do. How do we get through certain situations where we're unsure what's left, what's right, how to go up, how to go down, and how fundamentally at the end we protect ourselves or implement something to protect ourselves so we have the freedom around our family, our friends, and even a little bit around our health. But before I get into that, I just wanted to show you a little bit about myself. So Nums, bring that up. So at the moment, sorry, as I said before, I am, tech. It's the wrong slide pack. Okay. Sorry about that, team. Just having a bit of an issue to bring my slides up. There we go. So at the moment, as I said, my name is Lawrence Lotz. As with Jono, I am a family man. It's a photo of myself, my wife, my two kids a couple of years ago. Also, as Jono said, I'm mad about social media. So I helped launch, or I didn't help launch, I launched the Wolf of Queen Street podcast and social media brand over 3 years ago. That runs in the property and business space across New Zealand, Australia, and pretty much one of the top ranking podcasts out there in that space. I've also survived a brain tumor and financial ruin in the same period of time. I've also gone from the highs to the lows and have a realization of what is happening at that time period in my life. As I said, with my social media brand and podcast brand, I've ranked in over 10 countries in the world. I've actually, funny enough, if anyone knows the likes of Gary Vee, one of my proudest moments on my brand is I beat him for a week of being outranking Gary Vee as the #1 podcast in countries throughout the world, which is pretty cool for me. And as at the end of the day, I'm also a mental health advocate and a public speaker to go out and help people and talk to people about how to overcome adversity, how to overcome life challenges, and take control where it's needed, when we need it, and also put steps in place so that when something does happen that you weren't sure was ever going to happen or was unbeknownst to yourself, you are protected in the life that you're in. So fundamentally today, I'm going to cover a situation about how I find my life in uncertain situation and how property investment, yes, property investment, saved myself and my family from financial ruin. And not just financial ruin, ruin in total. Now people go, but how does property investment do it? How can that save all of that and put that all into place. That'll come out from my story. That'll come out from what I'm going to speak about over the next 30, 35 minutes. And I'm hoping it's something that you can take from it and see how it can give you that opportunity, the security, how it can build certainty as close as you can get to perfection from certain things that we don't have today. But the first thing to note is, what is certainty? So here's from the Collins Dictionary. Certainty is the state of being definite or of having no doubts at all about something. Think about that. Certainty is the state of being definite or of having no doubts at all about something. It's about being precise, having the knowledge, knowing, understanding, having no doubt. There's certain things in our life that we want to have certainty as we stand. But in the world we live at the moment around property or investment or our lives, certainty is a little bit hard when you see information like this. If you're in the property game, information like this. This was taken 5th of April, a couple of days ago. Buyers have the power. Price drop in Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin. Here's another one. This was at the end of last year. Property investors expect to cost, or the tax change expect to cost property investors over $1 billion in 4 years. How about this one? 44% of real estate agents say house prices are declining in their location. Again, this was done in March. How about in the current time we're at the moment? How about the Ukraine war? Inflation, cost of living. In the last couple of days in the news, 2 property property development companies have gone into mortgagee sales because the developments they're doing have fallen over because the costs have gone higher. So how, with all of this going on at the moment, is pushing so much uncertainty onto ourselves and so much, information. We're not sure. How do we, in our lives, go and get closer to that certainty? How do we get to the point that we're sure, we know, we have the guidance, and we know that the decision we're going to make is the right one? But the first question I'm going to go ask from that is understanding is, what triggers your uncertainty? I know what triggers mine. What triggers yours? What of you that is watching live or in replay triggers your uncertainty in your life, your personal life, your business, career, or even in the property journey that you want to take or want to get into? Lack of truthful information. We live in a society now that information is readily available, but very rarely can you put hand on heart and say, I trust that information. Because we know that the information sometimes provided with a loaded agenda. In New Zealand, it's a lot more subtle than the rest of the world, but it is still there. How about the fear of the unknown? Does that trigger your uncertainty? I don't know what is happening there, or I don't know what I need to do. How about the war in Ukraine at the moment? How much uncertainty does that give you as a person? How does your anxiety subtly grow? I know we across here in New Zealand, where I'm based at the moment, it is not as massive, but it is still there. But I know a lot of people, it makes them uneasy about it because it's the unknown. What is going to happen tomorrow? What is going to happen next week? What about life experiences? Does that trigger uncertainty in you as well? My past experience, positive or negative, and when I get to that situation again tomorrow, is that going to make me positive or negative about that experience? Let's talk about someone that is grown up and wants to get in the property game and had a bad experience or lost money or didn't have the right education 10 years ago, and now they want to get into it today, and all that their life is saying to them is, hey, remember 10 years ago, that's what happened. So why did I want to do it today? Why would you want to go through that again? Why do I want to experience that path again? That's a very common trigger for people about uncertainty. How about I ask you this one? How about wasted time? How many of you worry about doing something and then you consider how long it's going to take to do it, and therefore worry that the time period you're going to take to do it might be perceived as wasted and not value, and therefore you don't want to do it because you think it's going to be a waste of your time? Learning a language, learning a skill, learning how to become a better parent, educating yourself, going to university to do a 3-year degree when you're at 30 or 40 years of age. And then you say to yourself, is it worth me spending 3 years to get this education? And a lot of people turn around and go, no, it's not worth my time to spend that time to get to that point. So we feel that it's a waste of time. But how many of us know now that if we could have spent those 2 or 3 years when we were 18, 19, 20, 21, early 20s and gotten that experience then, how many of us would go back and actually have done it at that stage? Hindsight. It's a powerful thing. And then what about financial worries? We've got the highest inflation across New Zealand at the moment we've seen in a generation. Cost of living's gone through the roof. There's a lot of other worries at the moment financially for most people out there, irrespective if you're here or if you're down here. It's still one of the biggest discussion points in anyone's vocabulary in the last sort of 60 days is your income, your expenses, your financial worries. How much of that triggers uncertainty in yourself? Now, I know that everyone at the moment that's watching was having to think about what triggers their own uncertainty. Is if you might be feeling a little bit anxious, you might even be feeling a little bit more worried about it because now your brain's starting to think about it. But if we know it's there, if we can feel that it's there, we can also do something about it. Because by knowing it's there, that it means we can feel that it's something that triggers me to know to put me in this state. So how do I manage this? How do I manage the situation? How about we go out and try and find a source of truth? How about seeing the opportunities ahead and having clarity about the opportunities ahead? How about building knowledge in a safe environment? Building a financial roadmap and understanding freedom of time. Just look at that for 5 seconds before I jump into it. So look at some of one of those, if how 1, 2, or all 5 of them could help yourself in a little bit in your journey to manage a bit of the uncertainty to get you closer to where you want to be. Back to me, Nums. So let's talk about finding the source of truth. Finding the source of truth, not going on to CNN or BBC or in the world we used to live in is just going to Google and finding that information. Finding the source of truth is finding the information from the right people that provide it for the right reasons. That's something I truly believe. If I'm going to give you information for the right reasons to benefit you and improve you and help you, and I've got no loaded agenda behind it, then why would the information I give you be loaded? Think about that. Think about the last time you spoke to a family member, a friend, and they came across and they helped you and they spoke to you, and you could see that there was nothing from them to benefit, but when they came across with the information, how much more valid it was for you and how much more of a benefit it was for you. Compared to, for example, you go onto social media or into Google, onto the news, and you get a piece of information, but you know the undertone of that is it's driving an agenda. You can see the difference, and we can feel the difference as humans. So that's why we got to look at a place of finding the source of truth. The next thing I was talking about is seeing the opportunities ahead. We're unsure what's tomorrow. We're unsure that's next week. And my story I'm going to talk about in about 10 minutes will truly show the not being able to see the opportunities ahead. How about if you have someone that can show you those opportunities with valid information, valid data, and a clear roadmap, and showing you that here's a step tomorrow, here's a step next week, and here's a step in 30 days' time about the opportunities ahead, to give you some clarity and stability so that you can make decisions of what you want to do in life, family, or in business. How about building knowledge in a safe environment? How many of us worry about wanting to learn social media, wanting to learn a language, wanting to learn to better ourselves, but sometimes as well we worry about who we're around or how we're doing it. So we go, no. How about we manage that by building the knowledge in a safe environment where there's people around us that are in the same situation. They want to learn the same. Might be one step ahead, might be one step behind us. But we're in a safe group that putting up your hand and asking a silly question is no such thing as a silly question. Because my question, I might feel might be silly for other people, but there might be 5 people that are not brave enough to put up their hand and ask the same question. So by me doing that, it allows them to get the knowledge as well. And that's by building knowledge in a safe environment. How about building that financial roadmap to counter the financial worries that you have? Now, a financial roadmap doesn't necessarily mean building a roadmap to reach to retirement in 10 or 15 years' time. A financial roadmap could be as simple as just putting something down in paper and having an understanding of where I am and slowly the subtle changes I want to make to give myself that change that in 30 or 60 or 90 days, I want to achieve a small enough tangible target. For me, one of the biggest things I learned through my experience and through my story that you'll hear about was my financial roadmap was building up a time period to be able to do something with my kids. Whether it was going away for a weekend, whether it was going a day or going an hour to a movies or a couple of hours to a movies, that was to me the importance of my financial roadmap is what could I implement to achieve this $50, $200, or $500 goal over my 1, 2, 4, or 8 week period in front of me. This is the sort of stuff that I had to implement to build the financial roadmap, or to stuff that I had to think about to build the financial roadmap. And then we have the freedom of time. Remember I said about uncertainty, one of the big things of triggers uncertainty is the risk of wasted time. How many of us would do stuff when we knew that we weren't going to be risking our time? How many of us would do stuff when we knew that by doing this, it's actually going to give me more time? If I told you you only had to work on weekends and you could have the week free, would you do that? Why wouldn't then we look at ways how we can get ourselves more freedom of time? And all of this stuff that I'm discussing at the moment, all of this can be achieved through property, can be achieved through the evolution, the drive, property investment, and what it entails to a person from the start to the end, whether you 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the path from a property investment point of view, whether you've done one deal, one cabin, one tiny house, to a development with 30, 40, 50 properties down the path. All of these ways to manage a lot of the triggers of uncertainty in our day-to-day lives, not our business lives, not our family lives, in overall in all our parts of our life, can actually be done through property. It seems crazy to think that one vehicle can counter a lot of stuff that we struggle with in our lives. So I always ask the question, a lot of people ask me the question, right? They go, so why property? Simple question. Why property? My question back is, why not property? Why not take this vehicle? Why not utilize this vehicle? Because it can achieve the stability, the certainty, and the freedom that my life deserves and my family and everyone around me deserves by utilizing it. Back on me. But now everyone's going to go and say, hey, Lawrence, you've spoken about what triggers uncertainty. You're talking about some of the mechanisms of what we can use to manage it. And you're talking about property as an option. How do I implement? How does it come to be? I'm going to talk to you at the moment about my personal journey in the property game over the last 3 to 4 years, my personal life journey and what happened. And at the end, I'll show you how bringing the property in gave me everything I needed. I didn't know I needed property. I got forced in a way almost down the route. And how the property, as I said in the beginning when I started, how property saved my life and my family and everything else that entailed. So I just want to take you back a couple of years to 2018. Here's a photo of my family and my life in 2018. In 2018, I had everything in the world I believed. Happy family, trips around the world. 2 photos in the top middle is myself and my wife in Vegas doing a trip there and going to party like kids. And my wife surprising me and renewing our wedding vows after 10 years and having an amazing trip with friends. My parents in the bottom left there. Another trip with my kids in the middle bottom there in the Gold Coast of Australia. My uncle traveling over from South Africa for this first time, the bottom right, the gentleman with a piece of food in his mouth, my uncle, 60 years old, never left South Africa. And we finally got him over to New Zealand and we went to Eden Park to watch a game and eat rubbish food, drink warm beer. But that's the way experience you've got to do, or the way you've got to experience it. 2018, I thought I had everything. I had all the certainty in my life that I was successful. I had money. I was doing the right things. My life was secure. I had everything in place and nothing could be taken away from me. That sort of point in your life where you pat yourself on your back and go, you've done it. You've got it all. What else? What else can I not achieve? But things would change. Things would change after sort of that end of 2018. End of 2018, beginning part of 2019, I found myself in a situation where I wasn't feeling perfect. I wasn't feeling okay. I wasn't feeling myself. I just was feeling a little bit off. So I said to myself, okay, maybe 2018 was too of a good of a year. Maybe I enjoyed it too much, had too much travels, too much drinks, getting a bit older, mid-30s, age is catching up, sports injuries catching up with me, and maybe it's just life saying to me to slow down a little bit. But there's something nagging at me. There was something that wasn't just all there. I started to lose a bit of the confidence. I started to lose a bit of the certainty myself of what I am and who I am as the first couple of months started in 2019. And I couldn't explain why. So us males were exceptionally bad at seeking help or asking for help. So finally, I decided to go to my local GP and say, hey, GP, hey, doctor, I'm a little bit off. Something's just not there that should be there. Something's just me, you get that weird feeling that not all the wheels are turning. So the GP said, no issues. We'll send you some blood tests and we'll see what we can do from there. So send away the blood tests. We do all of that. And a period after that, so this was about February, March 2019, shortly after that, the doctor came back to me and said, Lawrence, you're right. There's definitely something going on with yourself that, that is not normal. We've picked up something in you that should not be there, shouldn't be in your body from a hormone point of view. We picked up something in your body that shouldn't exist in males. What they had found was they found a hormone called prolactin, which is generated by breastfeeding mothers when the baby is born. And they'd found my level being 4, 5, 6 times higher than the average breastfeeding mother in my system. And I said, that's not normal. So I got referred to a specialist to have a checkup of what's going on at the moment. So as this is happening, questions are starting to build up, starting to have this power shower that I had in 2018, this uncrackable egg, starting to show some cracks because my perfect, certain world was getting a bit questioned. And because I'd gotten into that situation, was not necessarily building the strongest protection, I was a bit worried what was going to happen. So I go to the specialist, brain specialist, and they said to me, hey, by the way, there's this common thing we find where there's this minute small growth in the brainstem, and there's actually medication, and we can resolve this issue that you find. I find it quite weird that he said it was a common condition, that there was something in my head. So the specialist said to me, we're going to send you for an MRI scan, and we're going to see what's going on, and then I'll see you a week later. It's an MRI scan of my head, and we'll see you a week later. So the Tuesday, the Wednesday morning, myself and my wife, first thing in the morning, we go over to the MRI scan. We get it done. We have the scan done. And as soon as I walk outside, I get a phone call. It was about an hour later, I get a phone call from my specialist. And he says to me, Lawrence, I don't want to see you next week. I want to see you first thing tomorrow morning. Now, every time I think about that, I get uncomfortable. I get emotional. I can vividly remember that moment where that phone call was the point in my life that I knew that everything that I was certain or clear about that day or the day before or the year before was out the window. Because if he wanted to see me the next day, the first thing tomorrow morning, not a week later, I knew my life was going to be changed from that moment. I knew it was going to be different. I knew things were going to change, and all of a sudden, I didn't have control of what was going on. So the very next morning, myself and my wife walk into the specialist's office. We sit down. He says, yeah, he's had a look at my scan, my brain scan, and everything, everything else. But he wanted to show me something that they'd found. This is the scan that they'd taken the day before. So firstly, when he brought up the scan, my wife, to break the ice, had a joke that I had brains. So we all had a little bit of a laugh and everything else. But then he sat down to us and said, hey, by the way, we found something we weren't expecting. If you take a look in the middle of that photo, you'll see there's 2 arrows pointing there towards sort of 2 white structures. What there was a brain tumor. The size of a golf ball, the bottom of my brainstem, wrapped around my pituitary gland, pushing on my optic nerve, and right next to my carotid artery. At that moment, when he showed me and explained that to me, he pretty much told me that we were unsure or uncertain where my life would be the next day, the next month, or the next year. I was told at that stage that there was no certainty of life other than knowing what is happening right at the split second today. Your life itself was no longer a certainty. your health, everything around you was no longer in your control because of that. Like I said, it was around the carotid, it was next to the carotid artery. That's the main vein that goes in the neck. If anyone enjoys horror movies will know exactly what that thing does. It had pushed on my optic nerve. I'd lost 30% of my sight. I was about a week away from not being able to legally drive, unbeknownst to myself, because my sight had disappeared so much. It wrapped around the pituitary gland. This is what was causing all these weird hormones in my body. So only a handful of weeks later, on the 26th of June, 2019, on the day that I was born, my birthday, I went in for surgery to fight to be a day of surviving. So no longer is my birthday the day that the day I celebrate that I was born. It's the day that I celebrate that I'm alive. Obviously, as I'm standing here at the moment, the surgery went well and I'm alive. But that was just day one of what would be a long journey of me trying to build to get to where I'm back to the point of where I'm certain in my life and my family of what's going to happen next, of how I'm going to have everything that I want and control in my own way. Because that was only day one of me realizing all of that was out of my control. Specialist said to me, Lawrence, the tumor was larger than a golf ball. We had to remove your pituitary gland, and therefore you won't be able to regulate your hormones for the rest of your life, and your body is going to change and alter from here on going forward. The person you are is going to become different. So through the next few 2, 3, 4, 5 months, I was recovering. I was also learning the different person that I am or had become, because my hormones was different. Who I am was different. But at that stage, 3 or 4, 5 months down the path, I wasn't working, so I didn't have an income going on. I had all the success and all the stuff in 2018, but in 2019, it was all taken away from me. And 3 or 4 months down of the recovery, it got to the point of, hold on, I had to start selling a lot of the stuff that I owned. I had to start selling and clearing anything I can to get cash in the bank to start paying bills, because I didn't have an income going on. But I had insurance though. So I said to myself, great, it's been a couple of months now, I'm recovered, I'm strong enough. I'm going to call my insurance company and tell them, hey, this is what's going on. They were well aware of it beforehand of time. I would like my insurance to pay out so that I've got income coming in for the rest of my life, because I've got a condition for the rest of my life, what's going on at the moment. That is one thing I thought I was certain about. So I gave them a call and said, can we have the discussions? I want to sort this out. Can we make our payments? Insurance company came back to me and said, yes, you've got insurance. Yes, you're covered in theory, but for you directly, you're not. Because what they'd found, and always in the crazy world of fine print, is they'd found these two lines in my insurance payment. And what it stipulated was that in New Zealand, or in on this policy, for a payment from a brain tumor, you had to go through the skull. We are very progressive in our medical field in New Zealand, and my surgery was done through the nose. So they said to me, no, you didn't go through the skull, so that's one clause you didn't meet our requirements. The second one that they said there as well is that I was healthy and I didn't have a long-term effect from the surgery. I remember what I said when they had the surgery. They had to remove my pituitary gland. I've got no control of my hormones. I've got no control of my state, my body sometimes. There's days I cannot get out of bed. There's days I cannot talk to my kids. Back to me, numbers. Because I cannot control my emotional state, my anger. The person I was, or the person that at that stage where I was totally different from a person 12 months ago. But my insurance company wanted to tell me that, hey, by the way, you are okay. Again, something I thought I was certain about became an uncertainty, and then became a major problem because they then did not pay out. I then found myself in January and February 2020, only a couple of years ago, bouncing on a mortgage. I found myself with all the certainty of 2018, everything that was in place there, and then uncertainty in 2019 came to a situation where I bounced on a mortgage, February 2020. Also got to the point that where myself and my wife could no longer see eye to eye. I'd become such a different person to who she married over 10 years previously that we couldn't see eye to eye, and we weren't sure if our marriage was going to make it. We had to come out publicly to our friends to say, we're not sure in the next couple of months we are still going to be married and we're going to likely have to divorce. Imagine that uncertainty in your life. Can't pay your bills, don't know if your marriage is going to make it, and you don't know where to go. You don't know who to ask, don't know what to do. Fundamentally, the darkest moments of my life right there, February 2020. I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see a path to take or anything else because there was so much uncertainty. I didn't know how to get it back. And because the certainty that I had was not protected in case a curveball of life would come, there was no way from my way to move forward towards it. But one thing, when you get to a point of darkness that hope no one ever achieves, the point of darkness that I got to is that you can see the smallest glimmer of light. And I remember through the smallest glimmer of light that I remembered in sort of September, October, the previous year, while I was recovering, because I like giving my time and trying to help people as much as possible. While I was still recovering from surgery, I'd gone to an event in Auckland with Grant Cardone, and I had gone to crew there, giving up my time to help other people. And I remembered meeting people there that were talking and saying things that resonated with myself and with my family and with the journey that we were hoping to try and achieve. They were talking about building security and getting your life and taking control. They were saying all of those things that I couldn't see my journey towards right now. So in February, March 2020, I reached out to these people. And I said to them, here's actually a photo from the event. I'm in the back left-hand side there. This is the photo of the event there. And I remember back on that photo there of all the people that were talking and everything else. Back to my numbers. And I reached out to them. Fundamentally, 90% of those people are the Wealth Mentor family. The people that exist within Wealth Mentor, that the mentors, the students, people that help, that have all been around you. And I reached out to them and I didn't ask them. I begged them for the help that I needed. I said, how do I get control? How do I take control, and build certainty in the next few steps, months of my life and everything that is around me? And we slowly started to put that certainty in place. Remember, I spoke about it. We started to build a financial plan, which was so simple. And it was week on week, day on day. It wasn't 9 months ahead of time. I had bills to pay in 30 days, and I had to figure out how. We were building that certainty. We started implementing a plan of understanding what are my next steps and goals that I could achieve. Remember how to manage it. We're bringing short-term goals into place that I could understand. They also gave me a safe place to learn. They also gave me a source of truth from that situation. Because with Wealth Mentor, there's no loaded agenda with what they were trying to achieve at that point with me. It was just benefiting, helping, and educating someone to be able to take their lives and the investment journey to the next steps. For me, it was just getting my life under control. Investment wasn't even an option. It wasn't even a thought for me. To me, it was literally like, I can't pay my bill today. How can I pay my bills tomorrow? And how can I stay married the next day? So slowly, day by day, week by week, through the team of Wealth Mentor, we started implementing these management styles of certainty, source of truth, safe space, what my path forward looks like, what my financial roadmap looks like. And we started building all these strong foundations of certainty that was stable, that no matter what life could throw back at me, they would stay there. Stuff that I was missing a year beforehand. And the craziness through this was that at that point of bringing all this into place, bringing back all that certainty, I got to a point that in that journey, my broker turned around and phoned me one day, Lawrence. He goes, "You know what the craziest thing is? You got yourself under control. You got this clarity, the certainty. The bank can see that. They want to give you money so you can invest in property. Not in that simple terms, but fundamentally in a real easy way. There's money if you want to invest." And I was like, that's just ridiculous. I couldn't pay a mortgage 60 days before that. But because we started implementing these rule sets and the certainty and started putting it all into place, they could see that. And at the end of 2020, what's that, 15, 16 months ago, through all of that, the banks allowed me to do 3 property investment deals. I was able to buy 3 times through 2020 when I couldn't pay a mortgage at the beginning of the year. Because I'd implemented everything. I'd put into points and conditions and had built from it one step to the next, that there was full protection and certainty for myself and my family, as well as what the bank saw that I was trying to achieve. And the benefit of doing those deals as well was they were generating me close to 40,000 New Zealand dollars a year in positive cash flow. So now the 3 deals not only was an asset and it'll grow for me over time, but it was bringing me $40,000 a year cash flow. So if something happened to me tomorrow, automatically I've already got $40,000 coming from me every year on year that's going on from those properties. The certainty was built and brought to me through property from this journey. And that's why I say, when people say, why property? I say, why not? I have gone to the darkest of dark moments in life of not knowing if I'll be alive tomorrow, and seeing all the struggles and seeing how not to be able to pay, how to be able to handle or still keep a family. And then being able to build my certainty on top of that through the journey and the education of what the team and what property does and what it teaches you, and the foundations and the stepping stones it takes from there, to be able to have it that I have close to financial freedom now through my journey, that I'm able to do things now that I never thought I could be able to do. And I've got full protection underneath it. My foundation is so thick and solid. I'm prepared for that next curveball. I don't want it. Don't get me wrong. I do not want another curveball, but I'm fully protected and I've got that into place there. I've got so much certainty around that I know that I'll be ready. I just want to bring up my last slide. And it's one of my favorite quotes, and it's from James Patterson. It says, "Imagine life is a game in which you're juggling 5 balls. Work, family, health, friends, integrity. Work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. The other 4 balls are made of glass." Just think about that for a second. If you don't build a foundation, if you don't drive towards certainty, you don't implement the correct rule sets, when you get to the situation where you drop one of those balls, you're in trouble. And the journey of property can counter and can manage a lot of that uncertainty in your life. It can drive you forward, give you financial protection, protect your family, can educate you, can put everything into place. for one step to the next. And before you shout at me and say, Lawrence, how do I, I can't even, how do I start in the game at $1 million? Property is not about just that. You can get into it in smaller incremental steps once you build the foundation and you take one step after another. Back to me, Nims. But I hope you enjoyed what I had to say over the last sort of 45 minutes. If you've got any questions or so about it, please drop it in the comments on YouTube if you're watching live or on the replay. Just think about it. Do you want to get into your life where you have so much uncertainty, you've got no other options? I got to myself in that point, and luckily I found a way out. It's weird. Property saved my life and my family. I learned from it. I learned from the best. I got shown safe space, and I got taken through all those ways to manage to build the certainty in there that I could go through and continue with the life myself and my family deserved on the property game. But I hope you enjoyed what I had to say, and I think at the moment we're going to fly ourselves back to Jono.
There we go. I should be unmuted now. Lawrence, absolutely
Awesome.
epic as always, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing. It really is very much appreciated.
Awesome.
And my studio is looking damn good, by the way.
Always is, mate. Always is.
Awesome. Welcome back, everybody. Now, in terms of Lawrence's story, absolutely love it. He's an absolute legend. We are going to be taking a quick 2-minute break to give you guys a chance to freshen up for the afternoon session. But we do have a lot of things to come. Team, can we bring up the slides, please? Because right after the break, we have got the wonderful Bella Reynolds jumping up. She's an absolute legend. You do not want to miss spending time listening to a performance coach, someone who is absolutely making huge impacts on people's lives and getting the absolute best out of them. As well as that, I am going to take you guys through my 5 steps to making a decision on the types of properties that you should be buying in the current market. So guys, like I mentioned before, a quick coffee break. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go and get your cup of coffee, to go to the toilet, and we'll see you back here in just 2 minutes, so 25 to the hour. See you very shortly. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope that you had a good little coffee break, freshened up, and ready for the next section because I'm so excited for you guys to get to hear from the absolutely wonderful Bella. But before I do bring Bella on, I just want to share with you what I will have on offer for you guys today in terms of furthering your property education. Let's bring the slides up, please, team. What we do have on offer for you guys is the Property Masterclass. Now, these dates, you want to jot those down, 13th, 14th, 15th of May. This is a virtual event that is streamed from our studio, just where you saw Lawrence before, into your living room. It is an absolutely exceptional 3-day event that we do have on offer for you guys. Now, in terms of the Property Masterclass, it is a 3-day event that is completely dedicated to your investing. It's kind of taking things to a whole nother level. Some of those elements that you guys heard from me earlier today, we'll be sharing some of those elements in a whole lot more detail. It is a practical, live, interactive event. It is really a exceptional 3 days. Quickly share with you what is on offer in terms of the masterclass, because I really want to get Bella on here, guys, so you get to hear from the wonderful legend that is Bella herself. So the Property Masterclass offer is 3 full virtual days streamed from our studio. It also includes a one-on-one strategy session, so you get to sit down with myself or one of my mentors where we get to work through your situation and how we can improve your investing and get you guys to that financial future, just like you got to hear from Lawrence, what he was being able to produce. As well as that, you get our access to our online resources. The whole course is built within our website. It's a great journey to go through in terms of resources and getting you prepared. There's videos, there's articles. It really is going to get you guys as prepared as possible for what is a really, really cool event that we have in terms of the Property Masterclass. You also, on top of that, get life support from us here at Wealth Mentor. As well as that, you get a call leading up to it, which is an onboarding strategy call done with one of my team to get to understand your situation, how we can help you with your investing. This year usually is priced at $14.97, but we do have an exceptional offer for you guys that are joining us on the summit today. Let me click the button right now and show you. We've got this on offer for you guys at only $195 today. It's an opportunity to join us on the next Property Masterclass. Lawrence will be there. I'm going to share with you guys later on, once you've heard from Bella, the team that we've got, and I'll go through exact details as to what we cover each day. But the Property Masterclass, make sure you write that down in terms of that discount code is Property 195. Team, let's drop a link into the chat right now for everybody that's interested in getting themselves a ticket to the Property Masterclass, which is coming up in May. Make sure you drop that discount code in there, Property 195. It really is an absolute steal. Brilliant. On that note, guys, I am so excited to be able to bring the wonderful Bella on. She is an absolute legend when it comes to her growth of people, what she's able to impart, her knowledge. She's a self-confessed nerd. I absolutely love that about her. A self-confessed nerd when it comes to humans and how we can get the best performance out of humans and out of her clients. And I think the aha moment for her is something that she absolutely loves. She's also very passionate about property and what that has done for her. She's now moving into the development space. And while if she's not helping people and absolutely transforming people's lives, she's probably at the beach, because I know that she's an absolute lover of the ocean and the beach. But enough from me. Let's head over to the ditch, over to the wonderful, the legendary Bella. Over to you, Bella.
Wow, what an intro, the legend. I'm just going to stand here. I'm not moving.
Perfect. Take it, enjoy it.
Thanks, Jono. And look, just before I kick off, that was just so beautiful to hear Lawrence's story. I've heard snippets, so I love that I've heard it in entirety, and it will marry so beautifully with what I'm about to share about being able to master your biology. Lawrence had to learn how to do that by default. He had a major health issue, major come upon him. So whenever I have time to listen to humans that have been through what he's been through and how it has formed them into this other incredible human. It's just an honor to be in this space. So thanks, Lawrence, and thanks, Jono, another legend. And I've got to just say, I'm not being paid to say this, by the way, $195 for that? Oh, whoa. I want to give that to people. So, okay. So my presentation today is very much about how I created certainty in uncertain times. And when you look at my slides that are coming up now, I've specifically selected this photo, and it's not just a stock photo. This is where I now currently live, which is a beautiful part of the world, Cabarita Beach, northern New South Wales. And if I had not worked out how to create certainty, there is no way I would be living here about 10 years earlier than I first thought about 5 years ago. So it's a pre-retirement strategy. And I'm only able to live here now with my beautiful husband. I only moved here 3 weeks ago. We're only living here now is because we have been on a pretty amazing journey the last 3 years. And we've learned, intimately how to create certainty immaterial to the environment you're in. And that is what I'm hoping to be able to give you insights to. So get pen and paper ready. I do interactive style sessions. So I'm going to prompt you to be able to think about your circumstances when you hear my presentation. And there's another point to it is there are 2 parts to Bella Reynolds. And there's Bella Reynolds, the coach, and my children know me even as a mum. I'm always a coach as well. And there's Bella Reynolds, the human. So the front half of my presentation is Bella Reynolds, the coach. The other half, the back end, is my life story. Well, not life story, I haven't got time for that, but my snippets about my specific life that I think give you understanding, well, I'm hoping it will, of how I've brought in a lot of the neuroscience I'm going to talk about. Righto, so kicking off, just a little bit about me other than that beautiful intro from Jono. I am a performance coach. I've literally got thousands of hours of coaching under my belt. And it is such a privilege to work with other humans to take them from being probably a fairly decent performing human, just bring them up to the high performing level. And that means they are living to their potential. And I suppose one of my core beliefs is that everyone's been put on this planet for a reason. We spend a chunk of our life working out what the hell that is. And the rest of our life is actually living up to that potential for why we're here. So that's where how I roll. I am a serial entrepreneur, more than 30 years in business. At one point, or for about 6 years, having staff of up to 40, but I've had a number of different businesses in my life. I am a property investor with my husband, do other asset classes, but he will tell you property is my love. I am a dead set nerd and I can't help myself. Now we've moved here, we're renting, we're about to buy the next property that will help us get to the ultimate dream home. And last but not least, I am a self-described high-performing human. You're going to learn a little bit about what that is. But I don't say that with arrogance. I honestly say that with, it is a lived experience to get to this level. But I'm very grateful I've had the courage to keep pursuing it. Okay, so just some elements I'm going to talk to you about today. What is a high-performing human? And like when I talk about that, what does it all mean? And the very fact that you've even clicked on to be here today, you're already performing at a fairly high level. I'm going to talk about how to get from that level to this level. What are the things that I've learned and I share with my clients that have helped me get to them and them to get there. I'm also going to talk about why uncertainty is challenging for humans. I'm going to talk about robots versus masters, and I can tell you right now, Jono is a master, and Lawrence, purely with what he has been through, become a master. And I'm going to talk more about what that really means. And then I'm going to share how I learnt to create certainty, immaterial to the environment around you. And that's what high-performing humans do. Okay, keep clicking the wrong thing. So what is a high-performing human? The definition I roll with is a high-performing human can make any change that they want in their life because they have mastered their own biology. So a high-performing human can make any change they want in their life because they've mastered their biology. I'm going to talk a bit more about biology. But what I'm talking also about is a high-performing human, purely because they know how to master their biology, also know how to thrive in uncertain environments. So in the environment, in the collective global uncertainty we're going through, these guys actually see it as an opportunity. And I'm going to say this now. Thriving in uncertainty has got nothing to do with the environment. It is all about mindset. So think about that. How are you tracking with regards to what's going on? How much of your biology do you understand? And think about that as I share the next pieces. And ask yourself, what are you prepared to change about it? Because at the end of the day, none of this means anything if you're not prepared to take action. So there's some prompts for you. Get your pen and paper ready. So we're talking about change here, right? The terminology we've used a lot since we've had February, March 2020 with the beginning of the pandemic is the terminology of uncertainty. But at the end of the day, that is about change. And I just want to bring something into your focus. Humans actually live with change and uncertainty from the minute they leave the womb. They do. You come into the world and everything is different from what it was like in your mum's womb, right? You come out, you have to learn to walk, you've got to learn to talk, you've got to learn to ask for food, you've got to learn all these things, right? And not only is the environment incredibly dynamic, the other thing is that the biology that you come into the world with is changing minute by minute. You are literally growing minute by minute, changing by that. And we think about that when you're little, but you're doing it even as an aged person. You know, the skin that we have is not the same skin that we had 2 days ago. All these parts of ourselves are changing. So we are a constantly changing and evolving human in a constantly and changing environment. The challenge is, do you understand that? And what emotions come up when change is brought upon you? And that's what this whole thing about uncertainty is, right? Humans can make their own certainty from now, but they can only do it if they know how. And they also have to have the awareness that they can do that. So that's the mindset piece. Okay, I'm going to share 3 slides that I know in the past couple of months or years have incited emotional responses for humans. Toilet paper game, okay? It's probably, I don't put this one up to laugh at humans, by the way, when this happened. But the minute everyone started to fully understand that what was going on with the pandemic, well, what was going on in Wuhan, in Australia, in our situation, it really only came to the fore by the end of March in 2020. When we started to fully understand that this was not someone else's problem and it was actually going to become our problem, a lot of humans went into massive fear and bought, I can't say what I would say, massive loads of toilet paper. And there was a lot of laughter at them. Don't laugh. They're just humans whose biology is running them. They had fear. They've got biology around fear mechanisms. They did not know how to think differently about it. They didn't know how to stop and think. They were just in full flight mode. Right. Now, I'm in survival mode. And so as much toilet paper as I get and everyone else around me is buying it. So that means it's a good thing. So that's what happened, right? Then I want to bring this up because I don't laugh at people who are doing this. These just show me humans that don't quite understand their biology. And so they are operating, or their biology is operating them rather than them operating their biology. Because if you didn't actually go and do that, you are in a higher level of understanding your biology. But that doesn't make you better than anyone else, by the way. It's just, I want to demonstrate that. Toilet paper gate, which I call it, is what that's about. Second one, stock market crash. The minute it was understood of what was going to go on in with this pandemic, which, by the way, is up until March 2020 in my world, was incredibly unfamiliar. So when humans are unfamiliar about something, they get scared. That's it. We always have a fear mechanism around something that we don't understand. That's our initial automatic response. Stock market crashed. And the next thing we're going to be told that property prices were going to plummet. Well, didn't we get that one wrong? And look what the stock market's done in the last 2 years. So I'm just showing that. But when that is an emotional response, when you see people literally dive in to just sell all their shares, that is emotion driving them. And emotion is part of your biology. This photo, if I'd shown you this in December 2019, you would have thought that it was potentially a crime scene. You would have thought, like, the familiarity that we had around this was maybe Chernobyl, a nuclear zone, something like that. We had no familiarity that what that photo means is the potential for the whole world to go into progressive levels of lockdown, printing money left, right, and centre, people being unable to travel and see loved ones. So this photo now doesn't give you fear, but I can tell you when you first started seeing photos that were coming out of New York and the ambulances, or what was going on in Wuhan when they were locking people up in their home, like, we now take for granted the fear mechanism that was brought on by the unfamiliar. And that's what goes on. When we actually are told news that is unfamiliar to us, our instincts in our biology are to go to fight and flight and fear and fawn, right? That's what we do. We don't have to stay there. And that's what I talk about, understanding your biology to be able to know where you are. So there are two types of humans in this world. There's robots or there's masters. And I don't tell you that because one's better than the other. That, to me, is an observation. There are people that are robots or people that are masters. I'm going to tell you more. Robots, to me, are humans that are on autopilot most of the time. They haven't had the questioning ability, or they haven't asked themselves any better. Their level of awareness about their biology is pretty low. Their biology is using them. And that is fine, except when we see things like toilet paper gate. They also, because they don't understand their biology, they are following the crowd. Now, if the crowd is going in a way that serves them, tick, no worries. But if the crowd is going down a path that is leading to rack and ruin, then it's scary. They are at the whim of uncertainty. They do not have that power within to manage what's going on around their environment. And the other piece is they are prone to react. Toilet paper gate. They react rather than respond. Big, big difference here. And as I've said a lot lately, we have had a change enema, but I don't think it's going anywhere. So what do you want to do about it? Become a master. They're the other people. That's what I said. Lawrence Kyron's one too. Lawrence is one. A lot of the Wealth Mentor community are, and also is Jono. So they take control, whatever the environment is. I don't know why I got a pen in my hand. Most importantly, they have got a level of knowledge around their biology, and they actually know how to use their biology as a superpower. And I am not kidding when I say that. I'll talk more about it in a minute. They are part also of an elite pack, because the vast majority of humans will stay as robots. I actually see what's gone on in the last 2 years, particularly in the health space, even in the investment space, in the relationship space. Humans that have found a way to navigate the level of uncertainty that we've got, to me, are an evolution. They are the ones that will survive better, in fact, thrive. And they're the species that will be able to basically, through their thriving, survive and stay around longer. They also choose their response, and most importantly, through that, they choose their destiny. So have a think about it. If we've got a scale of robots here, knowing their no understanding biology, masters intimate to it, and they can actually use their biology, then where do you sit on the spectrum? Interestingly, you may find in some areas of your life, you're a master and you can understand and know your emotions. And at the other end, you don't. So that's another thing. So what biology am I talking about? I was trying to find a really cool slide to show you our body, and there really weren't a lot. So I'm going to be creating some new stuff after this. I'm not sure that any of us really appreciate, unless you've been through what Lawrence has been through, how incredibly amazing this feat of engineering we wake up in every single day. People I've been with who are going through or have had major health issues damn well know it, because a part of it becomes defective. And hopefully they get to stay on the planet like Lawrence has. But I don't want you to wait for that to understand. And that's what I work with my clients on, and this has been pretty much my life's work, is to get even more and more intimate about some of the pieces of engineering. So I'm only going to share 3 parts of biology, but there's a hell of a lot I share with any of my clients. One is we have this incredible mechanism called your stress response. So it is a little bit like your dashboard, right? We have this warning system that lights up on the dashboard whenever we are put in perceived danger. We get a stress response, and because of this, what happens is we actually have this mechanism, and it's our autonomic nervous system. So we'll pull all of our energy back within so that we take our energy away from superfluous things to keep us safe, so that we can run away, we can fight, we can flight, we can freeze, or we can fawn to keep ourselves safe. So our stress response is with us whether we like it or not. But it's how we respond when we realize we're in stress that's the big one. And that's what a master does. I'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to share this slide because I think the more humans understand what's going on in their brain and the rest of their body, it gives them understanding, and purely with that understanding, they can make better choices. So we've got the cerebral cortex, but deeper within it is the limbic system. You've probably heard it as the reptilian brain, your amygdala. But the thing is that when we are under stress, the deeper element, our limbic system, takes over. And I'm going to make it even simpler by this slide, that this Alexander Fox that I found. I love it. And it's this concept between the elephant, which is actually the elephant which is within, deep within, or the elephant rider. So at any one time, we've got the elephant rider managing the elephant. But when stress comes on, the rider is literally kicked off. And so this elephant is in charge. And this is where you may find yourself under major stress and you make some decisions quite impulsive that you can't believe you've done or said, because this is becoming control. So one of your jobs when you know this stuff is to start bringing control into the rider or even to the elephant. But I come to that next. This is a roll-on effect. A second part of our biology is the fact that our decision-making under that stress response, so when uncertainty is presented to us or change is forced upon us, we actually get not just we can go and make impulsive decisions, but we can also find ourselves quite paralyzed. That's the freeze. We literally, oh my God, what am I going to do here? And when you choose not to take action when there's uncertainty, that is actually a choice and action. Inaction is still something. So that can happen a lot. And particularly, in, say, for example, the property game back in 2020, when it was said that interest rates, the whole property market was going to implode and values were going to drop significantly. There was a point, even for my husband and I was like going, whoa, what if we lose our job? Well, what if I'm self-employed, but what if he lost his job and we've got these high levels of debt? Of course we had moments of questioning. And maybe you have too. A third piece of biology that you may not know or fully understand, but I want to illuminate you to, is that humans feel safe in a herd. So this is why you see, the lemming mentality. That's why you saw people going out and throwing on Facebook and social media that they'd been buying this toilet paper, and the other people seeing other people do it, and they just in it because they were in fight and flight and they were in fear mode. They were just going out and following the crowd, right? It is quite a dangerous thing if you don't know about this. But if you do know about this, the other flip side to this is realize that humans love being connected to other humans. But you get to choose which herd, right? And that's what Lawrence brought up in his presentation, is be really deliberate about the herd that you choose to be part of. And you can't really do that when you're a robot. Only masters get to understand that, because that is overriding our instincts. So there are three parts of our biology that I wanted to bring to fore here when I talk about my story in a minute. This is also one of my favorite slides, and I'm not sure if you understand or have seen this before, but I want to share, because this is where our biology becomes such a big part of knowing it, becomes a big part of our success. If you're someone who still believes that success is linear, right? The first arrow. We make a decision here that we want to be this person, have this stuff, be, do, or have, or experience something different. So we just set that goal, right? And we're going to go from A to B. It's that simple. If you still believe that that's the line of success, then your biology is going to be having some big impacts on you right now, because you will get incredibly frustrated, because very quickly at some point as you go toward a goal, you're going to get a curveball, and then another curveball, and then another curveball. And that's what the right hand arrow or squiggly arrow is about, because that's what it really looks like. That's what life really is about. Starting here, choosing you want to go here, this next level, but knowing it ain't going to be linear. Knowing that at the next twist and turn, your only job is to be aware of how you respond to when the first curveball comes up. And Lawrence mentioned that in his story, right? In 2018, he was saying he was so happy. He thought he knew he had everything. He wasn't prepared for that curveball. And I can tell you, anyone that has been through a couple of curveballs and has learnt from that knows that you prepare for it, which means that you have a plan for it. And part of that is understanding your biology. When the fear kicks in or the emotion kicks in, it's like, oh, that's what this is about. Yeah. What am I going to choose to do next? Because robots don't choose a lot. They're on autopilot, right? Masters choose. And that's the cool bit about being a master. You get to choose. So this is a quote from Bella Reynolds. And I can say I love the fact that I get to put my own quotes in my presentations. We all have the same biology. It's not like we come out of the womb and the robots get drafted one way and the masters get drafted. They're not. This is one of the games, right? We've all got the same biology, but it's the masters that choose what they want to do about it. Life gets so much easier when we learn to use our biology rather than it using us. It's not a matter of ignoring our biology. It's about becoming friends with it. And then, oh, how can I use it to my advantage? And I can tell you, Olympic athletes have been doing this forever. Richard Branson, the high levels of entrepreneurs, they've been doing it forever. We just didn't know. And I didn't actually know how to do it until I went through my own journey. This is one other psychology-based principle I want to get across. If you have ever been in the space of blamers, people that go, oh, if only the government would change things, if only it would rain. In Australia, it's drought related, probably New Zealand, if only it would stop raining. They are people that have an external locus of control, and it's not a healthy place to be. That means that they are waiting for external circumstances to change so that they can get control and feel certain. Internal locus of control humans, masters, they actually look at what's going on and they make things happen. And that's exactly what my husband and I did when we made the choice, to join the Wealth Mentor family. I'm not going to tell you that there weren't emotions in there that were making a little bit fearful, but we overrode them, right? And that's a really, really big piece to this. So where do you sit? And where do you sit with regards to certain parts of your life? Are you a blamer who've got low locus control in one area, or have you got high internal locus control? Those humans that know how to bring that in, they're the ones that are happier. And there's research on that. So this is me as a superhero. Well, it's me as trying to be a superhero. But I do see myself as a master. And that's why I'm going to share the rest of this presentation is about sharing that with you. How I master my own biology. Number one was when I actually fully understood that I had been buying into fear, then the opposite thing I had to work out was, what's the antidote to that? And it's your relaxation response. Guess what? This is part of your biology. You get to change how you respond in certain experiences and environments purely by bringing in your relaxation response. And I can distinctly remember when this came in the first time for me. I was working in a job. I'd had a number of own businesses, and in that time, a couple of them were 2 pizza franchises. And with those franchises, by the time we'd exited from them at 6 years of ownership, we basically walked away debt-free, but nothing else. We'd put in over $500,000 into buying them, but the only asset we walked away with, we didn't owe the bank anything. And we also had under our company structure, we had the ability, it was a significant loss, which could be parked. And that came to the fore later, right? So I can tell you, this was 10 years ago this December. So it was a pretty challenging time. And what I had to do at that moment, and my husband and I had to do, but he had other business, so that was related to cattle. It was on my shoulders, and I felt that. I took a job, and I took a job with a fabulous company, but there was a time about 3 years in where I had been working in that company just like I owned it, and it wasn't serving me. I had got to high levels of stress, and I was, because I didn't actually know my biology well enough, I thought I did at the time, I got myself to a point where I simply had to leave that job so that I could actually start bringing in less stressful parts to my life. And so I became very intimate with the practice of breathing when I was in stressful situations. And the breathing also helped me to be able to make the choice to leave that job. And talk about certainty, there was no certainty where I was heading. I was going back into creating another business. I'd walked away from a reasonably good salary, but the way I was able to do it was by using breathing techniques, meditation, and getting to know how to override any fear that I had about moving forward. And that's something, and I knew that intimately. That happened to us as well when we were working out, why are we going to go into education with Wealth Mentor? But by then I'd mastered this, right? And I've continued to master it. So your relaxation response, when you are feeling stressed or you are feeling a bit fearful of any piece of information that makes you uncertain, the first thing you need to do is to come back to your breath. And I teach my clients a lot about this, and it is one of the most incredible peaks of our biology that antidotes our stress response, that takes us into full control of anything that is going on in the environment around us. Now, if any of you who are online today have been in the Defence Force, they've got, or even if you've been a high-level athlete, you get taught these techniques from day one because you get into high-stress environments. No one teaches this stuff at school. We actually have to learn by the school of hard knocks, or you go and deal with someone like a coach like me who can help support you through it. But learning how to bring in my relaxation response, and I bring it in now every single day. I'm bringing it. It's a habit for me to bring it in at certain parts of the day when I get triggered by things. It's been like one of the biggest parts of my biology that I will do for the rest of my life. And it is a pure habit. So that is one piece of biology that I've learned to master that has brought me control. It has brought me the level of high performing that I'm now operating at. And it's brought my own part of certainty, okay? Remember, I'm a master. I'm not a robot. Robots do not even know about this stuff. And even if they know about it, they don't even know how to bring it in. So where do you sit? Do you know how to regulate yourself if you are in a stressful environment? If you get a piece of news that freaks you out, like interest rates climbing 4% overnight, not happening by the way, but if they did, if that piece of news was going to freak you out, do you know how to regulate yourself so that you actually can calm yourself down enough to be able to get out of that limbic brain, get back into executive function with thinking, and choose to respond. Really, really, really important. And if you don't know about this, get on YouTube and learn about it. It's vital. Teach your kids too. Second part of my biology that I have actually mastered is around my beliefs. Because let me tell you, your beliefs create your identity. How you see yourself actually leads to whatever actions you take in life and the results you get. So the results that I got in that business space when I said I basically walked away debt-free, but no cash for 6 years, and I was in my 40s, mid-40s then, was a pretty scary damn place to be. What I believed about myself at that time when I bought the businesses was that I needed to buy a franchise because I couldn't be good enough in business. I had long-term beliefs about buying a franchise would give me cash flow. And I'm not dishing franchises, by the way. It's just that these were my beliefs, right? And they form my identity. But I didn't actually skill myself up on how to understand any limiting beliefs I had there. Because when the environment changed dramatically in my two little country towns, I wasn't skilled up enough to deal with it. To be honest, when my beliefs changed and became powerful for me was the day that I chose to believe the best thing for me to do was to drop the price down in my businesses and exit. There was no way I could meet my financial goals in those businesses without selling these businesses. They were not going to meet my financial freedom world. So I believed I was strong enough to be able to do that and go forward. Okay? But I'm just telling you now that your beliefs are just thoughts, and they become beliefs because you think them over and over and over again. So here's a piece of data, right? We have roughly 6,000 thoughts a day. And because humans have actually been wired to have a negativity bias, we spend, without knowing it, an inordinate amount of those 6,000 thoughts thinking negative stuff about ourselves and our environment, and they form limiting beliefs. This is all part of our evolution millions of years ago, because those humans that had a negativity bias right at the very beginning of our evolution, that were more worried about threats and less worried about how to, the food that was in front of them, those humans are who we bred from. They're our ancestors. So my beliefs and mastering them they changed my life. And that's a part of your biology because they're just thoughts. And there's so much cool neuroscience out there now. They know how to, with fMRIs, functional imaging, they now know they can actually track and map when a human makes a thought. God knows what we're going to know in the next 5 years. So this is one part of my biology that I've mastered. If I know I have an emotion, a negative emotion brewing in me, I know I've preceded it with a thought that doesn't make me feel good and it's negative. So I get to change it because we're the only humans have a superpower called metacognition. We are the only species on the planet can think about their thinking. So guess what? Pick good thoughts that lead you in the direction you want. Don't buy into fear because that's not going to lead you in the direction you want. Start taking control. Be a master. The third element and final element I want to share is my habits. And this is part of your biology. You have habits in your armory already. Some of them, and I call them good and bad, because some habits take you down a path that serve you, others don't. Your job as an adult is to get rid of the ones that don't serve you and make all of the habits you've got serve you. And you have to learn that stuff because we've got this incredible biology that brings habits in whether we like it or not. So I've just shared, this is one of the most vital habits my husband and I brought in about 2017, I think it was. I've just got to check when that was. But when we brought in the statement of position habit, this is when my husband and we got out of the dramas with the pizza shops. He got a really good paid job. I had a reasonably paying job, and we were still educating our 3 kids. And we made a really concerted effort to work out how do we control how much we're spending every week and what impact that was having on our statement of position monthly versus having a free fall mode. This statement of position habit, so every single month we would track what our assets and our liabilities look like. And I can tell you now, we basically tripled our net worth in about 3 years. And we've done it because we put our focus. We measure what we treasure, right? But it had to be a habit because I didn't want to think about it. And that's the cool bit about the biology about creating habits. Anyway, so they're the 3 things that I have mastered in my biology. There is so much of biology that I can share with you today. So I hate the fact that I'm only dropping at 3, but that's the time we've got. So where do you sit? Do you know how to deal with your habits? Do you know how to bring in your relaxation response? And do you actually understand how to bring in thoughts and change your beliefs, which is changing your identity? If you don't, you're more of a robot and less of a master. Sorry, that's my belief. But you can change it, because that's my question is, how well are you mastering your biology to create certainty? Because it is a choice. You can do that. They're what the masters do. So as I said, and I've been reiterating this thing, you've got robots. Robots are on autopilot. Robots are the ones when a fearful or an uncertain piece of information comes across their desk, or unfortunately across these machines. There's nothing wrong with these, by the way. It's just the fact that a lot of these are using humans rather than humans using these. When a piece of news comes across there that scares the hell out of you, do you stop long enough to review that information and work out how you want to respond to it? Or are you a robot? So as I said, if you're a master, what you will do is look at that information and actually think, what impact does this really have on me? Is it for the global collective? Is it going to impact my long-term goals? Oh, is this an opportunity? If everybody else is not going to go in and play in that market space because they're frightened, exactly what Jono was telling us this morning, does this now then provide an opportunity for me because the robots have left the game? And remember that herd mentality? When you don't conform to what everyone else is doing, you're a master. It means that you can master where you go next. And it is seriously, seriously cool. Throw in the chat. Are you a robot or a master? How do you feel about this? What do you feel about this information? Is this part of biology that you didn't even know existed? And now it's like, whoa, this is on me now. What do I want to do about this? There are lots and lots and lots of ways to do it. The first part is to choose. So I'm coming back to my initial slide, because as I said, if I had not found a way for my husband and I to work out how to master our own biology, and he's one of my first clients, the poor man, and my kids are too, but they are grateful to have me now. I now have an identity which is high performing Bella. And when I talk about that, that is language that I also get my clients to talk about themselves in the third person. They talk about their identity because their language helps them to create their beliefs, and then that drives their actions, drives their results. I am now living in my dream home. Well, not quite the home. I'm renting at the moment because my husband and I are being very deliberate about where we buy next. Because where we've left a beautiful market, and we cashed out of that really well, and we've come to what I call the high rollers. So we're coming and buying in a market which is a lot higher priced. But because of all the skills that we now have and the ability to master our own biology, we're coming and playing in a space that we now know how to intimately do. And there's a lot of people are actually quite freaking about buying down here. And there's a lot of FOMO that's been going on. So they've been paying really high prices. But we will buy under market value. And that is going back to that quote that Lawrence said, which I really love about Simon. Certainty was what he said is the state of having no doubts at all about something. And that's been one of the greatest things about me being able to master my biology and my husband and our family, is that we've got no doubts about what we're moving toward now. All we've got to manage is those little twists and turns and understanding what goes on in those twists and turns for our success so that we'll get there in the end. We don't have a doubt we'll get there. It's just a matter of time, quite a lot of patience and consistency and deliberate thinking. And this is how we've got to our dream home, our dream location. The home is coming, but I can't wait until we go and get it. So I'm just going to throw it back at you with this last slide. It is actually your life, and you know that. If you didn't know that, you wouldn't have even bothered to come on to this today. If you are in a position right now that you are considering what you do next about this uncertain environment, that I want to remind you that you have choices. When we get a lot of information about uncertainty and change, one of the things we forget is how much choice we have. We narrow our focus, we have tunnel vision, and we can only see, oh, I can only do this. Take a deep breath at the very least. Take another deep breath. Relax your shoulders, get into the present, and start to consider all of the choices you've got that will help you to be a master of what's going on and not a robot, how to create your own certainty with where you're moving forward. And in actual fact, spend that time to also work out what on earth do you want, because that is part of this process too. Don't be like the robots, be a master and master your space and master your biology in the meantime, because that's how you master everything. Okay, I hope that's been of value to you. And look, I'd love, yes, great. I'm looking at the comments. Yep, you damn well are, Kyron. Fabulous, awesome, Bella. Yes, fabulous. And it is a love of psychology. If I came back again, I would definitely do neuroscience and psychology. I'm now doing it by my learning with my clients myself. Thank you for everyone. And Jono, I think it's over to you.
Oh, Bella, you're an absolute superstar. I love listening to you present and pick up something every single time. I'm literally standing here just with a smile on my face, excited about what you are putting forward. Thank you for your energy. And I know I can see it in the comments, people are loving it. So awesome job. And guys, if you want to hear or learn any more about what Bella does, jump on the website, have a look at some of her blogs. She's written some great stuff and keep growing and becoming what I always talk about, the best version of yourself. And Bella's someone who can certainly help you with that journey. So thank you, Bella, for sharing. Great. So now we're coming towards the end of the summit. Now, I promised that I would be sharing with you guys a 5-step plan that I kind of worked through in terms of how to make sure when we're buying in today's market, we're making the right decision. Is the property and the decision that we're making within our investment the right decision for us? And it's a very simple 5 steps. It's actually not complicated whatsoever, but if you work your way through this, it should make sure that you've got some certainty. Let's bring the slide up, please, team. The first thing on this list is, first of all, what is your goal? You cannot go into a property investment without understanding what you are looking to achieve from that investment. It is the most simple element you need to make sure that you have on board before you make that decision. What is it that you're looking to achieve? Is it financial freedom through passive? Is it looking to create capital? Is it looking for your dream home? What is the end goal and how are we going to get there? Because then what that does is that gives you the idea or the strategies or the options available to you in order to take the right steps to that investment. Let's take, for example, Bella's situation. For her, it's about buying the home in a dream location. That dream location is then brought back to the fact that she is able to create a property portfolio that is going to be equity rich, so that when she cashes in and releases the capital, it gives her the ability to have a larger deposit in order to buy the dream home in the dream location. There is also ways, and I know that Kyron, who is actually one of the presenters at the next property masterclass, he jumps in a comment there as a master. Absolutely, as a master. His whole concept is thinking about outside the square in terms of what is it that you're looking to achieve for your investment, for your life, excuse me, and how can the investment work to support that? And often the investment can almost create that. This might seem a little bit out of the box thinking, but if you join us at the Property Masterclass, which I'm sure many of you guys will be, and on saying that, I'd like to congratulate a few of the people that have already signed up. I saw a couple of notifications coming through my phone. Welcome, and very excited for that event. So the options really come down to what strategy you're looking to implement in order to achieve that life goal. So number one, what is the goal? What is the strategy and the option that you're looking to use in order to get to that end goal? And establish some rules around the type of property. So you decide on the strategy, again, the option, and what rules attach to that strategy. Does the property have to have a certain cash flow element? Does the property have to have a certain equity uplift amount? Does the property have to be in a certain location in order to achieve something for your end goal? There's many of these elements that you need to consider and be aware of and work through in terms of achieving that end goal. And then those goals, then the rules have numbers associated to them. So you're looking for a minimum cash flow of $1,000 per month from this property. Great. Then make sure that the numbers stack up. When you work through any investment, you're going to have the rules attached to the type of numbers that you're looking for back in terms of return on investment, in terms of equity uplift, in terms of cash flow, or in terms of what lending or capital that you can release by doing a flip potential on the property. There's so many elements to this, but again, comes back down to number one, what is your end goal? And then if this all fits the rules in terms of what you have created, the rules that you've associated around the type of property that's going to get you to the end goal, if it fits the rules, it's very simple at this point. You make an offer on the property. You make an offer on the property based on the numbers that work for you, not based on what you potentially will get the property for, but if that does not fit your rules. But what I'm saying here is the numbers need to stack up for you. Do not get into a situation where you go on a FOMO buying or a fear of the vendor saying no to your offer because it doesn't fit your rules. The rules are there for a reason. The rules are not there to be broken. They're there to be stuck to, so you guys can end up getting to that financial goal that you have set yourself. At the end of the day, if it all fits, buy the damn property, get your offer in there, and start to create the financial future that you deserve, because the stability, the certainty that you've seen that has been able to be created through Lawrence and Bella's life, through the property investment journey, is exceptional. And we've done this for many, many students. We see it on a daily basis. It is so amazing to see. When the mentors talk about our students and what they're achieving, we actually get so much more of a buzz from the exceptional results that our students get compared to what we do now in our own investing. Right now, for me, I know it's a good time. I'm getting myself prepared. I mentioned about that to you guys earlier today. Get yourself prepared, because it's an opportunity that we've got right now in the market. In terms of preparing, I really believe that the Property Masterclass is the best preparation that you guys can do for what is coming up in the market. Get yourself prepared, get the knowledge under your belt, go through and cover off all the elements it is in terms of becoming a well-rounded investor. This is the team that we have got for you at the Property Masterclass. There is so much knowledge that is going to be presented to you over these 3 days. I'm very fortunate to be alongside some exceptional investors. I'm going to start off Kyron. You saw a comment from him before as a master. He will be here presenting during the Property Masterclass and sharing how his concepts and ideas can really create the freedom and the life that you deserve. Therese, who's built an exceptional portfolio. Paul, I mean, the man has built over 700 homes. We've got Natalie there, who's investing in multiple different countries. Carol, who's all about creating the ability to help as many people as possible through her investing. And you guys have heard from the wonderful Lawrence today as well. This team will be there for you guys during the Property Masterclass. You get to use and abuse them during the event. You get to jump into one-on-one sessions and learn from these exceptional people. You really want to take advantage of that. A couple of elements as to what is actually the Property Masterclass all about. Let's have a look at what day one looks like. Day one is where we start to build the foundation of what a property business looks like, making sure that we have an understanding as to what it is, the numbers that we're looking to work through. How do we actually establish and understand the process of what it is that we're looking to buy? Where as well, we create some rules for you. I talked about it before. We need to create rules so you understand what type of property that we're looking to buy. We also do market analysis. We'll spend a good chunk of time talking through intricate details of the market. I gave you guys my opinions and thoughts before, but we will actually dive into deep detail and going through exactly what we're seeing in the market, give you guys some great statistics and graphs and all that stuff that you want to see in terms of understanding what it is that's happening in the property market. Day one really is the foundation of getting things set up in terms of how we invest in property professionally. Because then we shift over to day two, where we start to implement a lot of the strategies and a lot of the elements that you can implement in terms of looking to get back the numbers. We go into some cool strategies like multi-income properties. We go into flipping and trading. I get to spend an hour talking about how you can take a property, flip it around, and make a profit along the way. Looking to use that as a strategy for a lot of people is a great way to build up capital. Again, if you're looking to build that deposit for that dream home, this might be a great strategy for you to look down. We're also going to talk through finance. I mentioned before, everybody's so obsessed with the mainstream banks. What are the other options and how do they look? Don't be fearful of them. I think that's something that is going to be very, very common practice in the coming years in New Zealand. So get yourself ahead of the game. Start to understand the different finance options that you've got for you so you can make sure you can continue to grow your investing journey. We're even going to show you how to invest without even any of your own money. Don't even need your own money. And actually, let me take it back. On day one, we're even going to show you how to make money out of thin air. That's a true story, actually. And I can guarantee that we're going to show you a way in which you can do this. Day two also has one of the absolute highlights of the weekend, which is the property game. We play a game and you guys actually get to live the life of what it is to be buying property in a game situation. So many lessons to be learned as we go through this. Now, I'm so proud of what we have in terms of Property Masterclass. Again, it's on offer today for only $195. And I am so confident on that $195. I'm confident even at the $14.97, which we usually offer this at, that I am going to give you guys the opportunity. If you're not happy by day two with what we are providing, where there is a full money back guarantee for you guys on the Property Masterclass as well. Like I mentioned, day two is really cool because it starts to implement a whole lot of the elements, understanding cash flow. We do deal analysis. We get you guys to bring in deals. The mentors will work through the deals specifically and how they work and analyze them and make sure that you guys are on the right track. As well as that, we do our one-on-one strategy sessions on day two. You get to spend time with a mentor, going through your specific situation and the best way to invest further and grow your wealth. I mean, the value alone in spending time with somebody who's been there, done that, and created a life-changing portfolio is something you really, really cannot go past. Day three, where we wrap it all together and building your business. We're going to do a session on tax. And I know that everybody loves the idea of tax, which, essentially I think is important. You need to know how to be tax efficient. But here's something. I guarantee that you come along to the Property Masterclass and I will show you how to pay more tax by earning more money. There's a catch there. We'll teach you how to pay more tax by earning more money, but being the most tax efficient that you can be. Tax efficiency is important, and this comes from how you structure yourself, how you have your entities, and what type of properties you're buying. It is very important to understand all this. Remember, we are all about the education. We will not be selling you a property at the Property Masterclass. As well as that, we got developments. Paul will present developments. Developments are a seriously important element right now. Being able to be, again, tax efficient, you really want to be on top of understanding how developments happen in terms of subdivisions, in terms of minor dwellings, in terms of the best use of your land. Really, really is important to go through all those elements. It's an epic 3 days. I'm trying to share with you all the elements of it here, but there really is so much. The feedback that we always get from people is exceptional. People absolutely love it. I know that it's a virtual event, and it might be the thought of standing in front or sitting in front of a computer for 3 days, but believe me, our students absolutely love it, and you will be glued to the event. It is interactive. We see you, you see us, and it is a great learning opportunity, no matter where you're joining us from in Australasia or even the world, to be fair, because there are so many elements that we will be taking you through. Once again, it's 3 full days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, practical strategies, practical elements, interactive, and it's all on offer at only $195. There is a link in the chat for you guys to grab this opportunity at only $195. This isn't going to be a very limited time in terms of being able to get this offer at $195. You don't want to miss out. I mean, what's that work out to? $65 a day? $65 a day. And you know what? To make it even better, we've created the situation where this is for two of you. So for $65 a day, you and a friend can join us on the Property Masterclass for 3 full days. It is really an absolute no-brainer if this is something that you want to do and you want to learn becoming the best version of yourself as an investor. Again, those inclusions, like I shared with you guys earlier today, so many elements, the 3-day masterclass, the strategy call, the resources that we have on offer in terms of preparing you for the event. There is so much there. Even get lifetime support from us here at Wealth Mentor in terms of your property investment journey. We're here for you. I think this is a great opportunity for you guys to jump on board, including the one-on-one strategy call. There's 2 tickets for you at only $195. Link in the chat. Let's drop the link in again for everybody. The link is also below if you're watching this on the replay for you to secure your spot at the Cashflow Masterclass. Once again, it's your chance to claim your spot. If you have any other questions regarding the event and you want to know a little bit more information around what it is, I'll get the team to drop a link into the chat now, which will take you to our website where you can learn a little bit more about what the event is and jump through. You still can use that coupon code that is property195. That link into our website will be going into the chat in just a moment. Thank you, team. Very good. It's time to make a decision what you want to do with your investing. Do you want to carry on going along the same old path, to doing nothing, or maybe investing but not to the best of your ability? Or is it time to join a team of like-minded individuals, like-minded investors who are out there going and creating the financial future that they deserve? Because we want that for you. That is the whole reason why I do this on a Saturday morning, recovering from COVID, is that I just want to be able to give you guys the opportunity to create the financial future that I've been able to secure for me and my family. So it's up to you. It's either do nothing or take action. Now, for some of you, you still would like to have a chat to one of my team and just get any of your questions answered. I would love to make that available to you. So I've asked the team to grab a link. And again, we'll pop another link for you below into the chat so that you guys can grab an opportunity to have a call with one of my team if there's any questions you would like in terms of the Property Masterclass. If it's dates that you're concerned about, no problem whatsoever. Book a call with the team and we can discuss other date options for you there and make sure that we can get you guys along to what is a really, really exceptional 3 days of like-minded individuals getting out there and changing your financial future. Guys, we've gotten to the end of what is the Certainty Summit. Your time is now. Click that link. Join us. We would love to see you. I'd love to meet you guys and be able to help you on your investing journey. I want to thank my guests who have been on the summit today. Bella and Lawrence, you guys have been absolutely exceptional. Guys, if you want to learn more about these, make sure you check out their bios on their website and you can see all the content that they are creating. Absolutely legendary work today, and I know that a lot of people got a lot out of your presentation, so thank you so much. Make sure, guys, again, that link is there. Join us at the Property Masterclass. I've absolutely loved having you guys. Have an awesome weekend. And you know what? There's only one way that I can end this event, and that is get out there and make sure that you always stay awesome. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.